Secondly, yes, Rajika says it's a test. Test of what? What were they being tested for? Faith. Do you trust this God that tells you to go the stupid way? Because from a human angle, it's a stupid way, isn't it? Long way, desert way, no water, no food. You stupid or what? But it was a humanly stupid way. But God says, do you trust me enough to follow me? Because it looks stupid in the human eyes. But it's not at all stupid. Because this way, you will be so safe. And Egyptians don't expect you to go here. The Korean War. You know, they have this is roughly, okay? Koreans, please forgive me. Korean Peninsula. China is up here, right? And there's a river here called the Yalu River. Seoul is somewhere here. Yeah? Busan somewhere here. Roughly. The North Koreans came down all the way. And they were going to run down all the way to the south. The Americans came in, the United Nations troops came in, and they pushed all the way back. A very critical battle was the battle to take over Seoul. Today, North and South Korea are divided somewhere there, right? Above Seoul. So that was a very critical battle, and one of the things that the North Koreans knew, Seoul is a very important city, very heavily fortified, very, very strongly defended. There was no way to conquer Seoul, capture Seoul. What did the UN troops do? In the Battle of Incheon, the Koreans will know. The Battle of Incheon. Incheon is near Seoul. It's a steep cliff right down to the sea. The North Koreans don't expect anybody to come up a steep cliff. The Americans came by the steep cliff. General Truman came in this way and then pushed this way all the way to here. And they were going into China. But President says, come back, no more. He was so angry. He actually cursed the president. He says, I'm winning, I'm going into China. Why are you stopping me? Because America didn't want to fight a war with China.
Was it MacArthur rather than Truman? I think so.
No, Truman was the president. Sorry.
Yeah, MacArthur.
MacArthur was the general, sorry. You're right.
Yeah.
Mixed up. Truman was the president, so Truman said, come back. And so, but what I'm trying to say is that when people don't expect you, that's the way to go. So, people don't expect you to go this way.
That's a strategy.
Yeah.
And that's the way to go. Same thing with Kuwait. Kuwait is on the coast here, and Iraq is here, and Iraq swallowed up Kuwait. The American troops were expected to come onshore like that and attack this way, because all this is desert. Nobody goes through the desert. The Americans went through the desert and attacked this way. When nobody expected it.
Operation Desert
Desert
Storm.
Storm.
Desert storm.
Yeah.
You see? So sometimes, humanly speaking, that was the first desert storm. Humanly speaking, it's so stupid. So the Iraqis didn't expect the Americans would come by the desert. So impossible to travel through desert. And where are you going to get your food? Your food and your ammunition is here. As you go deeper and deeper into the desert, your ammunition and food runs out. What happened? You run out of food, you have to come back. The Americans, and this is one war where the Americans depended on logistics. The logistics people, the people who supply the food and the ammunition, they airdropped and they set up logistics bases along the way. The food was dropped into the desert. Ammunition dropped in the middle of the desert. So they just walk, pick up, attack. So yeah. So the point is, the stupid way is actually the best way. But they had to trust that God knew what He was doing. The Americans had to trust the logistics general, General Norman Schwarzkopf. They had to trust that he, or rather the general leading the troops was Soskov, but the logistics general was somebody else. But they needed to trust this general that he was doing the right thing. So God was testing them, whether they trusted him or not, whether they had faith in what he was doing or not. Now, as you look at 19, I mentioned too that Joseph himself had fantastic faith. He never saw that promise delivered. He says to his people, please remember when you leave Egypt, carry my bones along. I'm here in Canada. I do not know when I'm leaving Canada. But it's like, if I'm an immigrant here thinking that, 7 generations down the road, my great, whatever, how many great-grandson will be the president, will be the prime minister of Canada. I have great faith it will happen. How do I know? But I'm a human, I don't. But Joseph knew because he had heard his father talk about the promise of God. Joseph's father was, of course, Jacob. And Jacob's father, and you trace all the way back, was Isaac, and Isaac's father was Abraham. So in the family, they have been telling this story, and they knew this was going to happen. Okay, now, what else can we learn from this passage? When we observe, we interpret, we then apply. At the end of the day, when we read the Bible, it's not a book that you read and then thank you very much, that was a nice story. If I want nice stories, I go to the movie theater. Tonight is Exodus, Gods and Kings, released tonight. Why are we here? It would be easier to go and watch the movie, right? Well, don't watch the movie, don't waste your time, because
But the books are always better than the movies.
the books are always better than the movies. I like Catherine. In this case, this movie uses CGI. It's very boring. It's 2.5 hours of boring CGI. Spectacular, yeah?
CGI.
CGI, computer generated interactive graphics.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Computer graphics.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of drama. I know, you read Exodus, there is a lot of drama in this, and they managed to put the drama on the screen, except they don't follow the book. So, if you want to read the Bible, read this. If you want to watch Exodus, it's based on the Bible, the characters, but totally different story. Okay, so don't be misled. The story there is a different story. In that story, Moses is a general. Moses is no way a general here. Israel left Egypt as slaves. They were not soldiers. They were not trained for war. They were so stupid in a way because they had to face a well-trained superpower army of Egypt. Because they were brave enough, because they had God with them. Sometimes we may do something that seems so humanly stupid. The other side is a superpower, best trained army in the world, and you are a bunch of slaves. It happened in history. Spartacus was a slave. He managed to convince a whole army of slaves to rebel against the Roman Empire with him. They fought. Initially they won, and they were picking up more and more slaves along the way because they were winning. But the Roman army says, we are the superpower army of the world today. We are not going to let a bunch of slaves make us look so stupid. And Spartacus and his army was crushed. Mercilessly crushed. Those who survived, they took all the soldiers and hung them on crosses. And they lined the roads along the way. Every inch of the highway was a man hanging on a cross. Rome was saying, don't you ever dare again to rebel against me. Egypt might have done the same thing to Israel. How dare you rebel against me? But God was with Israel. And that's the difference. Okay, so apply. It is no use learning everything in the head and then it doesn't change my life. It's just another book to read, another book to enjoy, and then, okay, next book. The Bible changes lives. And it changes lives only because the knowledge that comes in here trickles down 18 inches and affects this organ here. If only your head is changed, it can unchange. We change our minds all the time. But when your heart is changed, that is a real change. So make sure you apply. What have I learned? Joseph had great faith. The Israelites had great faith. Maybe I should stretch my faith a little bit. My faith is so small. God, help me stretch my faith. I have no idea what university I'm going to study in, but God, stretch my faith. Give me the best deal I can ever get. Whatever it is that you have in store for me, I will have faith that you will give it to me. Right? And I will obey you to do that. As a very young Christian, I actually kind of had a bargain with God. I don't need to bargain with God, but I was too young to realize, but I had a bargain with God. I said, God, if I get a place in university, law school, I will serve you on campus all the 4 years of my life. I actually went into the army because I was too poor to find money for studies. So I needed a scholarship. And I prayed to God for a scholarship and I bargained with him. God, you give me a scholarship, I give you my time and my effort.
Why 4 years though?
Time and effort.
Law school is 4 years. In Singapore, law
Now
school is
people
4
pray
years.
to OSAP.
Yourself.
Now you have OSAP, but you still got to pay back OSAP. So, yeah, OSAP may not give you enough to,
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah. So anyway, I had a scholarship. I prayed and God gave me a scholarship. So I actually prayed only for a scholarship. I didn't pray for a place in law school because at that point of time, I thought I had already been given a place in law school. So I prayed to God for a scholarship. I bargained, you give me a scholarship, I give you my time and energy. And I got my scholarship. So I went to law school, I went to the dean and said, hey, I got a scholarship, now I can come in. And the dean says, come in where? Hey, law school, I don't have a place for you. But you do, here's a letter. You see, in Singapore we have national service. At 18, you get called out for 2 years. And then the university reserves a place for you. So I said, here's the letter, you said so. The dean said, no, I only reserve it for 2 years. You've been there 5 years, or 3 years. It's over. Game over. No place. So I laughed because I said, God, you've got such a great sense of humor. I asked only for scholarship, so he gave me a scholarship. He knew I didn't have a place in school, but he didn't tell me. But you are teaching me something. Don't need to bargain with God. Just pray, and if God wants you to have it because it's good for you, He will give it to you. So I got my place in law school the next year. I didn't have a scholarship, but I had the faith to say, now God, you can give me anything I need. I went in without a scholarship. And then, I think the rest of you, the rest of the story, you know, some of you, I never lacked a scholarship all the way through. From my bachelor's to my master's to my PhD, every single cent was paid for. So I had the faith that God would supply what was best for me. Now at the end of the day, it is not just scholarship, it is not just work, it's your whole life. And you need to have faith, you need to apply it in your life. Right? That's application. Now, I want to end here. We have no more time. But I intended to do chapter 13 twice because next week I'm going to teach you another way of reading the Bible. We did the CIA method tonight. Observe, interpret. See, observe, interpret and apply. Next week I'm going to teach you something else. When you read the Bible on your own and you don't have a teacher with you, there are different methods. Another method I'm going to teach you next week is called the spacer method. S-P-A-C-E-R, spacer. And some of you who have been with me, you know what this means. Each of these letters represents something. Come back next week, I'll tell you. Okay. Any questions, anyone?
Recently, I read something, an article, saying that some people found not actual artifacts underwater,
Mm-hmm.
but coral in the shape of the artifacts. Because they were saying that artifacts from an Egyptian army would have disintegrated or degraded under the water, but what they had was coral that formed around things, like wheel axles of chariots and stuff like that. Do you know anything about that? Or?
I think it's very, very attractive to look for, signs that were left behind. And then when somebody comes up with a spectacular story like that, everybody just falls hook, line, and sinker. It's one of the hoaxes. Okay, that story. This guy, there's a real guy who actually goes around and he claims to have found these corals and all that sort of thing. Things that look like chariot wheels in the water in the Red Sea and so on. The established archaeologists actually say he has got no evidence. It's just fanciful theories. Okay, so don't be too bought by that kind of story.
Okay.
Yeah, spectacular, but if it was really true, there will be more people talking about it.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't understand why Israel.
Same thing with the Noah's Ark also. There's so many discoveries.
Right.
Of, oh, we found Noah's
Oh,
Ark and all
right,
that. These are too spectacular.
True.
Yeah. Sorry.
I don't understand why Israelites were afraid of Egyptian soldiers, because as I know, most soldiers died in crossing the Red Sea. So I understand the Israelite and Moses didn't have to worry about Egyptian anymore.
You see,
So
we.
you mentioned Moses and Israelites. They did it.
You see, we look back and we know the whole story. It's like we watch the movie and we know the ending. So I know the story, I know the ending, and you don't know the ending. Moses and Israel were going through the desert, they did not know the ending. I know the ending, I know. Why are you so stupid, Moses? You should just walk. Why are you so stupid, Israel? Just walk. You will see miracle after miracle. But the Israelites, remember, they're coming out from Egypt, 430 years of slavery. They have no other skills except maybe big muscles.
In fact,
No fighting
I
skills,
have not
nothing.
find out what they. How can I find out they worry about the Egyptians?
Oh, okay. But just think about it this way. You put yourself, imagine you are a slave in Egypt. And for 430 years, your ancestors have been in Egypt. 430 years, like now it's 2014. Count back 400 years, will be 1600 something, right? Your ancestors have been in this place, Korea, Seoul, wherever. Imagine wherever you are, 1600, they've been here until now. And they have lived their lives every day as slaves, and there's a power above them. They're very powerful, the biggest army, the strongest army in the whole world, the most powerful country in the whole world. And you are slaves in that country for 430 years. Do you think you'll be brave enough to say, I'm going to fight you? And for 430 years, they may have some people who are more religious and they will teach the children, we have a God called Yahweh, don't worry. But after many generations, the children will say, Mom, Dad, you've been saying that for many, many years already. I don't see any Yahweh. I don't see any God. Well, I'm still a slave, and my children will still be slaves. Your grandchildren will still be slaves. Don't tell me about God. I don't believe it. So they would have had no faith in God, no knowledge of this God that can save them. Because He's never shown Himself for 430 years.
Yeah, but if I were to interpret Solomon's question or point correctly, I think he might mean that they have experienced 10 miracles from God. From
Yes.
frogs and
In the space of
plague,
maybe several months.
and then the drowning of the army.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is that I don't understand why are they still
Sure.
afraid. Yeah.
That
After
becomes
having
harder
experienced-
now.
Yeah,
It becomes harder now that after having seen 10 miracles like that. When I was a non-Christian, I was anti-Christian. I didn't believe in God. Oh, I thought maybe there is a God, but I didn't really believe in God. I am not all the more I didn't believe in Jesus Christ. And when I said, God, if you are Jesus Christ, prove yourself to me, things started happening. 1, 2, 3. I do not know how many. Maybe I stopped counting. But after 1, I said no, coincidence. After 2, coincidence. 3, coincidence. You see, human nature is like that. You can see 9, 10, maybe not enough. I don't think so. Just coincidence. Happens to be spring, that's why there are frogs. Happens to be summer, that's why there are flies. You see? So yeah, I mean, looking back, how can they be so stupid? It's right in front of their eyes. How can they not believe in God who's doing all these things? Because I've been there, done that. And I said, no, it's coincidence. God? What God? It's coincidence. But there came a point, I do not know how many times, I hope it was not more than 10, but there came a point where I finally said, yeah, okay, I'm willing to concede, God, that maybe you're proving yourself to me, that it is not coincidence. You see, so, yeah, it's like, put it another way, you read the Gospels and there's so many miracles and Jesus is walking on the water and he's feeding 5,000 and guess who are the ones who don't believe in Jesus?
His own brothers.
His own brothers, his own 11, 12 disciples. Can you imagine that? Living 3 years with the man who created all these miracles? More than 10, Chris. Surely? The Israelites, poor Israelites, only had 10. They still cannot believe. And I don't blame them.
And even Peter denied him.
And Peter,
Yeah.
living 3 years with Jesus, seeing all the miracles, all the power over the storm, he's afraid that Jesus cannot overcome the Roman army. So when they asked him, do you know this man? No, I don't know him. Because he was worried for his own safety. 3 times. He couldn't believe that Jesus could save him. And Jesus looked at him, right? Remember the gospel says, Jesus looked at him, just looked at him, and he cried. He cried like a baby because he realized his faith had been so weak. He had denied his own master. So yeah, we say, why did the Israelites not believe in God? The Jews. Judas, and Judas too, yeah? Didn't believe in God. Yeah? It's easy for us to say, but when you're inside there, sometimes when we're inside there, we don't see it. Yeah. Okay? Does it answer the question? It's hard for us to understand why it happens.